What's up, everybody? Justin at S&K Greenhouse, but today I'm back again with the legendary, the all-star gardener, master gardener, Bruce Duncan.
My brother.
So good to be back. So many of you guys watched our last tour and you're like, man, we got to do this again. And it's been a while, it's been a whole year, and so many things have changed in just 1 year.
It's amazing.
And I'm so excited to show you guys Bruce's handiwork, the additions he's made, the conifers he's added, the new beds he's added. So if you watched the last video, don't think you've seen everything. He has really changed it up. So excited to be with you.
I'm glad to have y'all
doing this.
I'm glad, yes, I'm excited.
We're right here at your backyard. We're gonna start here this time. We're gonna work our way through here. He's got a new walking trail we're gonna go through. We got a vegetable garden to go through, and then we'll make our way up to the front yard where we started last time. So if you wanna start us off, Bruce, talk about what you got going on back here, brother.
Well, last year when you were here, this is pretty much like it was. I've added a few more beds for some extra flowers. Of course, I've got different flowers this year than I had last year. A few are the same, but don't you love the cleome, the spider flower?
That's what sticks out to me so much.
I grew that in this bed, but it was over in this area last year, and all of that came up by seed from last year.
Wow, and that's a cleome.
And that's cleome. Okay. Or also called spider flower.
Okay.
And I really love it. And it'll bloom up until fall. It's just beautiful.
Wow.
And something I've added, some perennials. You see the orange flower in front of it, and there's some over here.
Oh yeah, let's walk over here and talk about it.
Yeah, this is Crocosmia, also known as Lucifer plant. And I'm really not sure why it's called that. The devil plant, I guess, but
I like Crocosmia a little better.
But to me it's angelic. I love it. It's beautiful. Now most Crocosmia that you typically see is more red. My aunts and my mom gave me these bulbs last year, and it must be a different kind. It's really orange, but man, I love it.
And Bruce, before we walk too much this way, let's just talk about this whole vibe you got going on right here.
Well, Alex, can you come back on this end of the trail? But I like to throw things in my flower beds that you don't expect to see. And as you walk down, if you want to follow us down the trail here, I want you to see something. I hope you see it, you should, that you wouldn't expect to see. Has it hit you yet? Bam. You're almost on it.
Sweet 100?
Sweet 100. That's a Sweet 100 tomato.
Sweet 100 cherries are probably the best cherry tomato
I love
out
them.
there, the most sugar content. They don't call them Sweet 100 for nothing. Sorry, I didn't even ask.
It's like, you're fine. It's like a, yeah, spit it all over me. This is like a candy store to me. Every morning I come out here and work and water. I have to eat me some Sweet 100. But what I like about this is amongst these flowers, you wouldn't expect to see a Sweet 100 tomato plant.
That's what I love about your style of gardening. You've got some conifers in here, you got some annuals in here, you got your shrubs in here,
perennials,
and a tomato growing up.
And a tomato growing. I just thought it was neat.
You blend all the elements together so nicely.
But that red color of those tomatoes, and it'll continue this up until fall. You see how the tomatoes are growing up the stakes, so you'll get that red color all season. How about this is scented geranium, also known as crane's bill. This is a perennial, comes back every year. I love it. It'll bloom all summer.
And for a perennial, it blooms like an annual.
Right, it blooms like an annual. It'll bloom up until fall, which is really neat.
And you got some gomphrena over here, I see.
Yeah.
This is a strong blooming annual. Is this iris?
That's an iris.
And then you got Trandescantia. This is starting to bud up and bloom.
Spiderwort. Now those a month ago, this is a gold-colored Trandescantia or spiderwort, and these are the same thing. This is the old-fashioned kind. A month ago, all of this was that high, covered in blue blooms.
Wow!
But after they do that in the late spring, early summer, the blooms will fade away. So what I do is I cut them back, like you see. I cut them clear to the ground, and then I let them grow back, and when they grow back, they'll bloom again till fall. So you'll get...
I got to brag on Bruce for just a second. Most people would let their zinnias flop over or grow them through the cages. Bruce has individually staked each zinnia that had trouble standing on its own with a little stake, and that's why these are standing up so pretty and tall.
Now, in another week or two, when they get really mature, the stalk will be good enough to stand up on its own, but they have a tendency when they're young, that stalk is not mature yet, but it flowers and it gets top heavy, and a little rain will just make them fall over. So,
gotcha.
But in a week or two, it won't need those stakes.
Well, folks, again, we are out in Falston, North Carolina, Zone 7B in July. And Bruce, has it been hot lately?
Golly.
I baited you into that one.
Lord. Is a fat dog heavy?
Now, look at this celosia over here. Is that, do you know what variety that is?
I don't.
Okay,
it's
it's definitely a celosia. Bright cherry red blooms. The blooms are unlike any other flower, in my opinion.
Smell that ground cover you're standing over.
Okay.
See if you can tell what it is.
I'm not sure.
Alex, you got an idea what you think it is?
No idea.
It's a spice.
It's a spice?
It's oregano.
What?
Yeah.
Is that perennial or is that an annual?
That's actually an evergreen.
What?
Yeah, it'll stay. In the winter, it kind of gets a little darker, but that's oregano.
That is awesome.
It's a new strand of oregano. It's called gold oregano. And
wow.
I thought that was pretty neat.
That's awesome. Folks, I don't know if you remember, do you want to take them back here?
I'd love to.
We're going to do a quick loop. I don't know if you remember this. We didn't talk about it much last year because this was just a field. But Bruce has turned this into a yard area.
Where we're standing, Justin, on this edge line, last year, if you remember, it was a jungle.
Yes.
And I had a guy come in, bush hog all this, and he said, Bruce, if you'll just keep it cut with your lawnmower, you'll be surprised. It'll start looking like grass, a grassy yard, and you can see.
Well, what's so unique about this backyard? Bruce lives on Main Street in Falston, so.
Well, that's like living in Mayberry.
Yeah, but you don't feel like you feel like you're out in a very rural area, which Falston kind of is compared to other cities. But it's so nice to have these woods behind us. He's on about 6 acres of land back here.
And since y'all were here, of course, I cleaned this area out. I've got a nice grassy field. Look, there's the rabbit, Alex. There's the rabbit I told you about. That's the creature that ate my cucumbers up not long ago. You remember me telling you, oh, looks like he's got a family now, or she.
Oh,
that's
Bruce,
why
you can't be too mad at him.
No, I'm not mad. But you remember I told you about my cucumbers getting eat up. That's why this fence, I put that fencing up.
And folks, if you'll hang with us, we're about to go in there in just a few moments. That vegetable garden is awesome if you've never seen it.
But anyway, since y'all were here last year, over the winter, I came in here and made me a little nature trail through these woods.
Yeah, this was all dense wooded area.
And we have our fire pit, and I've kind of neglected this area. I used to keep it a little cleaner, but we like to sit out here in the fall and winter and build us a fire. And,
oh, it looks awesome.
But we now have a nature trail. And Justin, you were here earlier, but earlier today when it was probably, what, 92, 93?
Yeah.
When we got back here, what did it feel like?
Oh, it dropped 10 degrees.
It was amazing.
That's what's so interesting about these kind of areas. Again, we're in Zone 7B in the middle of summer. Yeah. It has been brutally hot. And so lately, Bruce has made himself an escape from that back here in these woods.
Now we're back here in the deepest part of this wooded section, and this is where it really gets the coolest in the middle of the day. It's a nice little retreat, and I hope next year, right now it's just the way it has been, it's all natural, but next year I hope to add some, I'm gonna sow some flower seeds here and there, and hopefully have a little color back here next summer.
Bruce has only been on this property, you said now 4 years?
4 years. Mm-hmm.
And the transformation this property has went through is nothing short of amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Now, Bruce, you're retired now. People are going to wonder as we go through your yard, how many hours a day are you putting into this property? I think, I'm setting you up for this, but I think like people think you put a lot more effort than you do. I mean, I know you put a ton of effort.
Yeah,
but you got other things going on, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't put as much time in this as some people might think I do. If I had to guess, on average per day, all year long, I probably spend an hour to an hour and a half.
Just maintaining
and adding things. I have some projects when we moved here, of course, like this, that I've done, and I have a few more I want to do, and that's going to add that time, but that's just a one-time thing. It won't be an everyday thing.
Right.
I'm getting older. I'm getting at that age where I'm having to think about how much I want to do in the future. Well, that's a pretty neat loop, don't you think?
That was awesome. So we just went through the loop. It's brought us back on this side of his vegetable garden. And starting over here, and we'll walk back down to where we were, but I just want you guys to notice last year,
this wasn't here.
This whole bed wasn't here. So you just added this.
I've added all this.
When you're making a new bed for these annuals, and what did you put down here? Did you put any topsoil? Did you till up the ground?
Well,
we have a lot of heavy red clay around here.
We do. I added some topsoil. I had some soil brought in, and about a truckload, not a whole lot. And I tilled it in, and then that's the foundation. Going forward, you know, I make my own soil by composting, and every year I'll add to this a little bit, not a whole lot. And
so he's got some vinca right here. Vinca is an annual here, and it takes the sun, it takes the heat, it's drought tolerant. It blooms all summer, and you can see how it's filled in so nicely. He's also got, is that Bubblegum Vista back there?
Bubblegum Vista.
Bubblegum Vista petunia, very aggressive petunia, filling out that container. He put it in a container to give it some height, I'm guessing?
I did, one of my favorites is this Inferno, what's it called?
Coleus?
Coleus, but I think it's called Inferno. That might just be the name of it.
I think it is Inferno.
Inferno is the name of it, but it's a rust orange color. I love it.
And look what he's got in the back. This is an addition. Of course, this whole bed's new, but you don't. This is the only Austrian pine I believe you have on the property.
It is. Well, you don't see them.
And
often.
What's unusual about it? Austrian pines are really great in our heat and humidity. It almost looks like a cactus from a distance.
From a distance.
It looks like a desert cactus.
It kind of has that look.
But it's an Austrian pine, Oregon green Austrian pine, and it's just beautiful. And this will not fill in this area back here.
And that plant behind you, do you know what that is? That's a red twig dogwood.
This is a red twig dogwood?
That's a red twig dogwood, and in the winter, in the fall, when those leaves fall off, it's deciduous. As the weather gets cold, the limbs will turn a bright red.
Wow.
So it's really pretty. Even without leaves in the winter, that bush will give you really a nice look.
Well, if you want to walk us through here and tell us kind of what you got through here. This is a columnar Norway spruce, right?
It is. I believe it's called a black Norway, but it's very narrow growing. It won't get more than 2 or 3 feet wide. And
I see you got some junipers.
And you know what a typical Norway spruce looks like? Can't you tell the reason they call that a black? It's a darker. Can you tell?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a darker green than you typically see on a Norway. But I love it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And of course I have junipers. Part of the reason for these junipers, I like them. But it keeps, see how my tomatoes are growing on the fence? I have some problems with pests that want to come up and eat them.
So you got this as a barrier.
So it helps keep the deer and other pests, groundhogs, they don't like this juniper's prickly. And
it's aesthetic, but it serves a function.
It does. It does several things.
And look, you got these 2 raised beds at your doorway, but you don't have to put vegetables in every little raised bed spot. So you've got some beautiful color here. This is Creeping Jenny or Lysimachia. Beautiful ground cover. Turns copper in the wintertime. Spreads pretty vigorously too.
And what's funny, Alex and Justin, I didn't plant this Creeping Jenny down here. I had it here coming down. And where it came down last summer, it set root, and now it's growing here. But it's fine.
It's beautiful.
I think it's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
I like it. So I just left it. Eventually, I may have to thin it out a little bit.
Look at this little antique door he's got on, like in the entryway here. That's just beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love stuff like that. And since y'all were here last year, I found that Coca-Cola. That's from the early 1900s. It was an ice box. It's not in great shape. I've seen them in better shape than that, but I like the rustic appeal of that out here. That's why I did it. And I keep my pots and all that stuff in. It's pretty neat. I've added these 2 beds since you were here last. You may not remember.
That's right. This was wide open.
This was wide open. I just had not had time. I had intended to have these all along, just hadn't had time to do it. But I've got this full of the beds that I want now.
So you got a bush green bean growing in here? Is that what that is?
A bush green bean. I've got green beans growing on the fence back there. The ones growing on the fence is a Blue Lake pole bean, and the ones growing here is a tender green or tenderette bush bean. And I've had these growing here now for about 6 weeks, and in that time, my wife and I have already done 3 runs of canning green beans. Wow. That's about, a run is about 7 or 8 quarts. So we've got about 24 quarts of green beans already, just out of this.
Out of the little addition that you added in this whole thing.
Out of 2 beds, 4 by 8 beds, and what's growing on the fence. And we'll probably can a few more before the summer's over. And of course you can see the tomatoes.
So you put this fencing around, and it serves 2 purposes. One, you've got deer problems.
I've got deer problems.
You got the woods where we were just walking, that walking trail. You got deer, you got rabbit problems. So this fence kind of keeps all that out, but it also serves as a really great place to stake your tomatoes.
Absolutely. And even though these are full of tomatoes, and we talked about this last year, how I grow my tomatoes, I vine, it's called vining. I don't have a lot of leaves. I keep the leaves trimmed down, but I showed you the picture earlier, and you'll be able to put it in this video.
Yes,
but
we'll put that on the screen. How many tomatoes he has got?
They won't believe it.
People think when you prune, you're cutting off your tomatoes, but you don't chop the blooms off.
No,
you leave the blooms.
Yes,
you cut off the tomatoes. Me and you agree with this, especially here in the South. You might not have to prune this much if you live up north or a less humid area.
Right.
But here in the South, it's so humid. Fungus spores just ignite like crazy.
We have a lot of disease problems if you don't trim some of your plants.
And there you go.
But this whole fence was full of tomatoes 2 weeks ago. Julie and I we've done about 3 runs of spaghetti sauce. We make our own homemade spaghetti sauce, and it's all made out of stuff we grow.
They might want to. Do y'all want to see a video of how Bruce makes his spaghetti sauce?
It's good. You've eaten it.
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And to know where it came from, and to know it's clean and nothing's been added to it, that makes you feel good too. But boy, the taste is off the chart. It's so fresh tasting. And we have 4 daughters, and every time they come for holidays and stuff, they all take back a jar with them. So we have to can about 50 jars to have it. And you can see here, I grew these are Biltmore tomatoes, and I added them about a month after the ones on the fence. And you can see how loaded they are in tomatoes. That's how the fence looked a month ago. It's
and what's
incredible.
This you got planted in
Swiss chard. It's hard to grow collards. You know, we did our collard video last year. You know how I love collards. Well, collards don't grow good in the heat. They want to bolt, which means they want to go to flower. When greens do that, the leaves aren't real tasty. But I have found that Swiss chard does not do that in the heat. I can grow it, and it has a collard taste to it. You've eaten Swiss chard.
Oh yeah, it's
delicious.
Good.
I love it.
Very good for you too.
It's good for you. So,
but I love the inner plantings that you've got the tomatoes with the Swiss chard, and then what's on the back side over here? Cucumbers?
That's cucumbers.
Okay.
That's that pick a bushel cucumber, whatever.
Yep.
And my squash over here, we've been picking squash now for 2 months, and they have just about ended their cycle.
Well, we've got a video on pruning squash and zucchini and why you should do it. And you can see here, Bruce, we both believe in pruning.
Oh yeah.
And what it does for your garden.
It just keeps your plants healthy, and it looks neater. But as I said, these plants here are well over 3 months old, and they really have come to about the end of their cycle.
Yeah.
I'm still getting some fruit off of them, but I've got new plants coming on. And in about a week, I'll be digging these up and putting the young plants there.
Hey, if you're in our zone, you got plenty of time to start another run.
Oh, yes, in this area, because we'll get vegetables up until usually late October into middle November.
Now what is this?
Yeah, I was going to show you that. Do y'all know what this is? Can you tell what it is? Can you smell it and see if you can tell what it is?
I know it's an herb, but...
Alex, can you tell?
Smells real good.
Oh yeah, that's familiar.
Cilantro.
Cilantro.
I love when I make my homemade salsa with everything I grow in the garden. I love a little cilantro. But let me tell you, I had not intended for it to flower.
It's beautiful.
About a month ago, it was small and bushy, and I thought, good, and I'll just keep it that way. Well, I cut it back a little bit, and all of a sudden it started flowering. And I kept cutting the flower stalk off, and the more I cut it, I'd come out the next day and it would be like a foot tall. I'm like, what in the heck's going on? So anyway, my wife come out here and had a fit for it. It's a dainty white flower, and she said, just let it grow. So I let it grow, and it's made a real pretty flower.
Beautiful, love it.
Of course, I got my basil over here.
Got you a pot of basil.
And you'll show
that
it.
Stuff's strong too.
I'll send you a picture so you can put it on the video. But just a few weeks ago, Julie and I got about 30 freezer bags full of corn out of this one bed. I had corn.
I thought you couldn't grow corn in raised beds.
Oh, well,
bro.
you can. Wait till you see the picture I send you.
This is what, an 8 foot by...
It's a 4 by 8 foot. And here's how I did. I did it just like I've got crowder peas. Here in the South, we call these field peas, crowder peas. Sometimes people will call them fall peas, brown peas. But anyway, I've got 5 rows of these peas here. Well, I had 5 rows of corn, and I promise you my corn stalks were no further than 5 or 6 inches apart.
And they still produced.
And I had 5 rows of them, and each corn stalk I got 2 to 3 nice ears off of them. You would not believe the corn I got off of it.
Off of an 8 by 4 raised
And I'm going to tell you why. If you know anything about a corn plant, a corn stalk, it tassels, what we call tasseling. When the corn stalk gets mature, at the very top of it, it'll have this plume of brown looking, looks like wheat. That's the pollen. And the corn ears, which won't be but 1 or 2 inches, they'll have the silks come out when they're young, and that pollen falls from those the top of the stalk down onto the silks, and each silk is what gives the kernel of corn on the ear.
That's amazing.
So when you grow corn in a nice tight space like this, you ensure that the pollen will fall down and hit that silk. A lot of people, when they grow their corn like in rows and they spread them out, sometimes they don't get much corn because they're not pollinating enough.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
For telling us that.
And then over here, well, I'm explaining why you can grow corn in a bed.
In a tight area.
In a tight area.
Makes perfect sense.
And I'm doing the same thing over here with okra. Now, anybody watching this video not from this area, not from the South, they may not be familiar with growing okra. Okra is kind of a...
Okra.
What it is, Justin, that's a Myers lemon.
What?
Yeah, that's a Myers lemon tree. And I don't know what's going on with it this year. And it may be the cool, you know how cool June was.
Yes.
And I think that has something to do with it. It should be blooming.
Do you
by
leave
now.
this outside all the time?
I do. A Myers lemon can take temperatures down to the low 20s.
Wow.
And if we have, in the winter, if there's a threat of getting into the teens at night, you know, that cold, I'll bring it inside the house or somewhere. I'll put it in the wood shop.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't happen here too often. Can you see the blooms at the top, Alex, up there? This is a sweet autumn clematis vine, and when it gets in full bloom, they call it sweet for a reason. You can walk out the back door when this is in bloom, the whole backyard.
It just fills the air with aroma.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
It is. It's awesome. Alex, one thing I wanted to mention, and Justin, in the video we did last year, I've read a lot of the comments, and there's a lot. I can't,
I can't believe how many people watched the last tour. I mean, I can, but I can't.
Yeah, and the comments, I thought, oh, I'm gonna keep up with them every night and answer everybody.
It got out of hand, didn't it?
There's just no way you can do it. But I wish I could respond to every person who makes a comment. But one of the questions I got asked frequently was how to make your flower bed look this pretty. And I'm gonna give 2 tips, and this is just from my experience, but 2 things I think if you do, you can have a pretty flower bed like this. Tip number 1, don't be afraid to plant too close.
Okay.
I think a lot of people do not get the effect they want, that wow factor out of their flower beds when they plant too far apart. Plant them close.
That's a great point.
If you've got good soil, and you know I'm big on soil, you know, and we talked about that last year, and we probably talk about it again this evening. But if you have good soil, you can plant your plants very close together and they will thrive. Don't worry about it. And planting close together like that really gives you that pretty wow factor.
And boy, does it.
The second tip I would say to get the look like this is I like to plant in bunches. So, you know, just like this impatiens here, this sun patience, this orange sun patience right here, there's 7 plants right there. And there's 6 or 7 of the blue salvia. There's 10 of the pink vista super petunia.
It is. And just for reference, if I'm sitting behind it, look how full this super vista is. How many did you say was in
I
here?
think there's 10 in there.
10.
9 or 10.
And you know, just me walking back in here, I can feel how loamy and soft.
Yeah, it's like walking on a sponge.
Your soil is. And again, we're in the South. We have a lot of clay. You've definitely added some soil, and that's obviously went a long way.
You have to. The red coleus here, there's 7 plants here. There's about 10 or 11 of the Cassandra. That's the they call it watermelon. It's kind of a pastel orange color. But as you can see, I don't want to be redundant, but my point is I plant plants close together and I plant them in bunches. I don't just put one thing here. And there's nothing wrong with that. I see flower beds where people just put what I call onesies everywhere. That's fine. It looks fine. But
nothing makes an impact visually,
I like,
in my opinion, like what you got through here.
I like to do it this way. I like to plant in bunches, and I really think it gives you a big wow factor.
Well, Bruce, I see you still got your chickens.
I do. Look at them. See how they're all up against
They've been
the
watching this.
Chickens are the nosiest animals on the planet.
They were watching this.
They are watching. I can't do anything out here. I can't have a guest. I can't do anything that they're not up here at the fence. They watch every move I make.
They love that excitement.
They're nosy.
You still got your compost going.
I've got my compost going.
And just a reminder,
well,
what are you putting in your compost again?
I take grass clippings when I cut my grass. back in the late winter, early spring, when I dug up my pansies and violas that bloomed through the winter, and I replaced them with the summer flowers, they all go in here.
That's a good idea.
When I trim my tomato plants back, all that vegetation goes in here.
So anything vegetation you're putting in here.
And when we eat supper, and we might have a cantaloupe or watermelon, whatever, all that goes, the rinds,
wow.
All of that goes in my compost bins. Now, this bin, I started it. Of course, what I do is I'll keep compost all through the winter, and come early spring, I empty these out and I add it to all my flower beds. And then I start over. And when I start cutting grass late March, early April, and we just start the process over. This bed here, this compost was started, I'm gonna say early April. And
early April, and it already looks like that?
Yeah, you can say I'm already using it. I'm already using it in some of my beds now. And you can see how nice.
And it's warm in there too.
It is, but now it won't be as warm. Put your hand in this bed over here. This is the newest bed. This bed here is only about 2 weeks old.
Oh yeah, but it's still pretty.
It's like an oven.
It's it's hot, folks. And we're filming here late in the afternoon.
Yeah, and this bed is, I started it probably late May, middle May, something like that. And it's beginning to break down enough. It's not quite where
It's beginning to look a lot like compost.
Yeah. But anyway, it's not far. This bed's not far from being used. And now that I've got those 3 beds filled, I just emptied this one. This is left over from last year. I'll start filling that one up. And I'll probably, between now and September, I'll probably empty at least 2 or 3 of these. But I'll have enough to add to them that I'll be able, through the winter, I'll have all 4 of these beds full. And come next spring, I'll have plenty to start over with.
That's awesome.
And boy, you talking about growing, when you have compost that you can add to your soil, I could go on forever about what it does for your plants.
Well, folks, if you want beautiful flowers, you want a beautiful vegetable garden, start doing your own compost.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all things vegetation, table scraps, and even your grass clippings, folks, if you want some good soil.
And in the fall, when the leaves fall, I'll chop them up with the lawnmower, and I'll put that in what goes in for the winter.
Now, you've added, I think the beds were here, but it looks like you've put some more effort into I'm still, I had a little oopsie over here. What, didn't you have another one of these?
I had, this is a compact juniper called a gold cone. And in cold weather, it turns a real bright gold. It's real pretty. I had 2 of them here, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I've got, this is my old grill. I'm an old school person, and I had my daughters and wife for Father's Day bought me a brand new grill last year. It's a gas and a charcoal. You can do it either way, and I'll still come back here and use this old thing. It's so bad that the bottom I had to take some old wire and redo the bottom to hold the charcoal.
Goodness.
But I love to smoke on it. And anyway, a few weeks ago, I was smoking something in this grill, and a piece of charcoal fell, landed over here in the pine straw. It caught the pine straw on fire. And I thought, I wasn't worried about the tree. I thought, well, tree's green and everything, and it's not a big flame. So I ran over there to get the hose to put this out. By the time I got back with the hose, I lie to you not, the tree that was right here, in a second, it went, whoosh, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I don't mean it just gradually caught on fire and burned. I mean, it just went whoop in a second. And I'm like, what? And by the time I got it put out, you remember the famous Christmas movie, Christmas, what's it called with, what's his name, with Eddie and Clark.
Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Yeah. You remember when his tree burned down? Remember Uncle Lewis went in there and lit that stogie and the tree went whoop? Son, that thing did the same. I stood there, I was like, I couldn't believe anyway. She's gone now. God rest her soul. I had to dig her up. And so I'm gonna have to work on this spot. But when you were here last year, if you go back and look at that video, I had 2 nice compact junipers right there.
Folks, keep fire away from your junipers.
Yeah.
So this is this impatiens through here?
That's impatiens.
So, okay, so you got the shade coming off your tree right there. It makes sense. Impatiens are a really great shade annual. And I love it around that juniper. Looks like you got a Pierce right here.
Yeah, Pierce japonica. Mountain
Is this
Fire.
one bloom pink or white?
It's the kind of red, pink.
Okay, like a pinkish color. Pierce is another great shade evergreen that gives you blooms early.
Right.
Like late February.
And the foliage is beautiful.
Yeah, and the new growth is red.
That's what I'm saying. The new growth is red, so the foliage and the blooms together make it a really pretty
You got
bush.
so much character with your weeping hemlock. Let's see, Tsuga canadensis pendula.
That's it.
Okay, that's a weeping Canadian hemlock, folks. It's got the beautiful little cones on it. Does great in the shade. And I just love how much character it's adding to this little spot.
I do too, and the cones, it's not something, it's not a showstopper like you're gonna see 20 feet away, but if you're up close to it, aren't those cones beautiful?
Yeah, these
Can
are
you see that,
beautiful cones.
Yeah, I just love the cones, and these will open up and of course they look like little miniature pine cones. My wife loves to take them and use them for Christmas decorations. and I love this little bed here.
Oh, one of my favorite little beds you got.
Creeping Jenny.
So that's a good ground cover.
Let me tell you something very quick. This is gonna be one of those educational moments. Creeping Jenny, the scientific name is Lizomachia reptans. Reptans, where we get the word reptile. Reptiles crawl, so that kind of tells you a little bit, but it gets the name Lizomachia, excuse me, from General Lizomachia, who was one of the 4 great generals to Alexander the Great. Okay. If you know anything about world history, Greece became great under Alexander the Great, and when he died, he divided the kingdom into 4 parts. It's even mentioned in the Bible in the book of Daniel. Daniel talks about King Nebuchadnezzar's image, and it had the part where it was silver and divided into 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all a prophecy about Greece. But anyway, Lizomachia was a great general, but he was also a physician. And everywhere he went, he was always looking for plants that had a sedative quality to treat his wounded soldiers with. And so a lot of the plants, there's a lot of plants that have the name Lizomachia, and they're not related to each other, but they have that name. And what that tells you, if you see a plant, if you're in the nursery and it says Lizomachia, you know it's a sedative. Gets its name from General Lizomachia. Isn't that pretty neat?
That is crazy, because I do see that all the time.
I know.
Lizomachia.
I know.
But they'll be, like you said, completely unrelated.
Can be a totally different plant, but that's where that name comes from. Here again, we've got the Inferno coleus.
And you got a Japanese maple behind it.
A garnet, yeah.
Beautiful. Love the lace leaf
Waldron
maples.
blue spruce.
Waldron blue spruce.
It stays small.
Nice and petite. Please tell them about this ground cover.
This is my favorite ground cover, Agiga reptans. There again, it's got that same name. I think that's Latin, reptans, or it might be Greek. I can't remember. But reptans, where we get the word reptile from. I started this 3 years ago with 3 plants that size, and you can see how it's grown. But what's wonderful is in April and May, it sends up a shoot about 6 to 8 inches tall everywhere, and it's covered in blue flowers.
Beautiful. One of the prettiest ground covers you've ever seen when it's blooming, and when it's not blooming.
It's beautiful. And we have another weeping hemlock.
I love how you got it surrounded. I love how this is filled in. And then what do we got right here beside you there?
And this is another crawling, what they call a prostate pine. It's a Pinus strobus, I believe. No, Pinus parviflora. No, it's a Pinus strobus. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
You're fine.
That's a Pinus strobus is the scientific name for an eastern white pine, and this is a prostrate growing. It doesn't grow up like a tree. It grows on the ground, which is pretty unique.
Love it. Absolutely beautiful.
And this Indian summer.
Yeah.
This Indian summer coleus.
Indian summer coleus.
It's off the chart, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
I love it. And that's that new sun patient called Candy. You remember that coming out this year?
Ooh.
That stuff's beautiful too.
Love the dark pink with the light pink.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, and look how beautiful. Some people don't want to plant annuals that don't bloom, but something like coleus that's just foliage.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely beautiful, just with no bloom.
And this candy colored sun patient against that rusty orange, is that not a beautiful combination? I think it
makes
is.
me want to jump up and down.
It does me too.
Makes me want to cut a backflip.
Y'all want to go see Big Sexy?
Yes, yes, yes.
Last year, you might remember, we walked around this corner and bam, right there.
There she is.
There she is. I call her Big Sexy. But anyway, you know what? I did it last year. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to give her a hug. Girl, you just so sexy. Oh, you pretty. Give her some love.
Can I give her?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But don't you love that gold forever? That's a forever Goldie arborvitae against that blue spruce.
I love it.
And then, this is kind of my theme this year, but growing beneath it, I've got more of that Inferno coleus.
Yeah, with a little bit of sedum underneath for a little chef's kiss.
That's it. But it just, all that together just makes a pretty combination.
Beautiful.
See, there's no flowers here, but look at the color.
Yeah, yeah. This whole thing is beautiful, and there's not a single bloom.
And there's not one bloom, but yet it's beautiful with color. Yeah.
How much has this thing grown?
I know.
We were just here like a year ago.
Isn't that that's the Confucius, isn't it? Chamaecyparis Confucius?
No, it's Goldilocks.
Goldilocks.
Chamaecyparis.
That's it.
Goldilocks.
Chamaecyparis Goldilocks.
And when you planted this, my goodness, it couldn't have been 3 foot.
It was that tall, yeah. And Chamaecyparis, if you remember the video last year, that's a Greek compound for cameo, where we get our word camouflage from, and cypress. So Chamaecyparis, compound word, it just literally means false cypress. And that's what this is. It's a false cypress.
Now in a minute, we're about to go into the front yard. You're kind of seeing the back view. So just hang on, folks. We're going to show you some more vegetables Bruce has got going on through here.
And if you remember last year, and we'll mention it again this year, this whole garden section was something I did back. I taught school for a few years. I was not a teacher by profession, but I actually taught math and chemistry for a couple of years, and the school came to me and said, we heard a lot about how you grow stuff. Would you teach a class in horticulture, and we want you to show how to do an urban garden to grow food, a sustainable food supply in a small area. So that's what we did, and that's where this came from.
So you've got tomatoes through here. You've staked them up to get them off the ground.
All it is a 1 foot wide box by 8 feet long, and there's 4 of them. That's all I've got here. 4 1 foot by 8 foot boxes that I made. And look at all the food coming out of this.
And this is just icing on the cake right here.
It's unbelievable. I've got cantaloupes here. I've got cucumbers here. I've got, now these I planted late, but this is butternut squash. Last year I got about 30 squash out of that. I've got tomatoes all the way down.
What kind of tomatoes are these?
That's called a San Marano.
Look at the shape of these tomatoes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Roma.
That's awesome.
And it's something I saw on the internet, and you know,
Is this your first year trying?
Yeah.
I love that you experiment like that.
Yeah, see, I like to just grow stuff and see what it does. Stuff I've never grown before. And this is a new tomato that I grew from seed this year. I want your daddy, you need to tell him about this and maybe grow it at the nursery. It's called Big Daddy. Have you heard about it?
I have not heard of Big Daddy.
All right, let me tell you about it. I didn't know. I saw it on the internet and I ordered some seed. I thought, well, I'm gonna try it. It's a hybrid from Big Boy. And y'all grow Big Boy at the nursery. Well, the Big Daddy is a hybrid from the Big Boy, and it's more disease resistant. And
does the tomatoes still grow pretty large?
they grow. Now I haven't grown them before, but they said it grows bigger than the big boy.
Oh.
And I started these late, so they're not really that big, but these just started producing tomatoes 2 weeks ago, and they're already, normally when they're young and green like that and they're that big, it'll be 3 times that size by the time it ripens. So I think they are going to be big tomatoes.
Wow.
But you know, I like a big tomato, but the size of a tomato is not important to me. It's the taste.
Absolutely.
And you know, when you can, we do a lot. We can our own spaghetti sauce. I do my own tomato soup. We do vegetable. We do a tomato-based vegetable soup. It don't matter. It doesn't matter how big or how ugly that tomato is. When you're canning it, all you're worried about, you just want it to taste good.
That's exactly right.
And so I grow a lot of heirlooms.
Quality.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And a lot of heirloom tomatoes aren't real pretty, but boy, when it comes to eating.
So don't be scared to eat a tomato if it's not red.
They're the Mac Daddy. Y'all know what the Mac Daddy is? Alex, what did you say? We're running out of what?
Sunlight.
Sunlight. Oh God, let's hurry.
Let's do it.
We got to go.
Oh, we gotta talk about these planters real quick.
I know.
That's off the chain. What is
There's nothing fancy. There's nothing fancy about my pots. The way you plant containers, you remember how aggravated I used to get when somebody'd say, well, what can I put in this? They'd bring an empty pot in there and they'd say, what can I put in here? And I'd say, well, I'd show them what this would look good. Well, how many do I need? Well, if it were me, I'd put 4 or 5 in there. Give me 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you? But anyway, I have a combination of scaevola, dichondria, that's
Silver Falls.
Silver Falls, that's what's growing down. And then I have this misty blue salvia. And I have about
and
3.
The bees are just loving it.
Oh gosh, yeah, look, it's always full of bees.
So this is great for your pollinators, folks.
But the silver cast of this dichondria with this purple scaevola and the blue salvia, is that not just a pretty combination?
Beautiful.
And I've got about 5, I have 1 salvia plant, 3 scaevolas, and 4 dichondria in each pot. And remember what I said a while ago about putting plants close together? If you want a pretty container, cram it full of plants. Don't worry about thinking.
Absolutely.
Fill it full. And
Don't be scared.
Put good soil in it, and yeah, don't be scared. Put good soil in it and cram it full. You'll get a much better look. And you know what this is?
I know, I can't remember the petunia.
Honey. Honey. This is honey. Your mom likes to put them in her hanging baskets, but I put them, I've got about 4 in this container here, plus with this blue salvia.
You've got one on each side of the steps.
And doesn't that look good with the...
Yes, it looks beautiful.
With the scaevola, and then we got the same theme over here, purple scaevola, dichondria, and Alabama parking lot, Coleus. That's the name of it, Alabama parking lot.
I love that combination.
I do too.
Coleus, scaevola, and Silver Falls. And then this, hey folks, if you want to attract hummingbirds, this Cufia, is this for millionaire variety?
It is. Mm-hmm.
This will attract hummingbirds better than we've seen hummingbirds earlier.
I see them out here. Hey, Alex, while we're talking about Alabama parking lot Coleus, I just want to tell all you Alabama fans out there, my Tigers are coming for you this year, brother.
Are you trying to start a fight?
I'm trying to start something up. Justin, we mentioned it last year, but I still have to say it again. One of my favorite pines is this blue Engle Japanese white pine.
And it's the short needle too.
Short needle, beautiful cones. See that little dark cone on it? Is that not pretty? Can you see that, Alex? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
see a little
absolutely
dark cone.
Beautiful.
And that cone, that small cone, will eventually turn into that there. Limelight hydrangeas, you can't go wrong with them.
That's the panicle style hydrangeas, great for sun.
Frankie boy, arborvitae.
One of the most interesting arborvitaes, in my opinion, is Frankie boy.
It kind of reminds me. Do you know what a whipcord is?
Yeah,
it's kind of like a whipcord.
It looks like it does. Sure does.
But I love it. And behind you is a rescue. That's a weeping juniper that we thought would never make it.
And these are extremely rare.
It's an extremely rare juniper. It's a weeping juniper.
Bruce is bringing it back to life. It's had a little stretch.
I almost dug it up last year. I really thought it was gone. And it's popped up this year, and I'm like, okay, great. Maybe we're going to make it.
What kind of Japanese maple is
That's
this?
a garnet.
Beautiful.
Been around a while. Autumn moon maple, one of my favorites. Beautiful in the fall. Blue Boulevard cypress, Composting, false cypress.
Year-round blue color.
Year-round blue color. Oriental spruce. This is the one called Caucasian Oriental spruce. I love it.
And just tell them, like, here in the South, people are kind of scared to grow spruces. But wouldn't you agree Oriental spruces is probably one of the toughest?
Yes. I have no, I've always had success with Oriental spruces. They just seem to grow good in our area.
So if you want to try one you're living in a hot area, maybe zone 7, maybe even to 8A possibly.
Look, we talked about it last year. You can be in zone 7, but zone 7 in Oregon ain't the same as zone 7 in the Carolinas. Is it?
No.
It's a little different.
There's been so much moisture in there, you could about swim through it.
Yes, you can. I about took a dive off the house yesterday and just started swimming through the atmosphere. It was so thick. A waterfall Japanese maple.
Beautiful lace leaf.
Absolutely unbelievable. In the fall, it'll turn a bright kind of lime orange color. It's off the chart. A red dragon maple.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
And then, what back here?
Tell me what that is.
Gold mop? Gold thread?
Gold thread.
Gold thread cypress?
Gold thread cypress. And gold thread cypress is typically a lot more golden color, but it's in the shade. So it doesn't get that deep golden color, but I still love it.
It's still beautiful.
But it's also an example of how you can grow some things in the shade. You may not get the right color, but it still gives you a shade option.
This is a great example. These are Rheingold arborvitaes. They're typically more orange than this. Bruce has them in shade, but they're doing just fine.
They look fine. They're not the exact color you think of with a Rheingold arborvitae, like you said, but they still look good. I know. Girl, you sexy too.
If you wake up one morning and this is missing, you might find it at my house.
Yeah, it might be in your yard.
I'm joking.
I know you are, but that's that's also an Oriental spruce.
Oriental spruce. There you go.
It's called a firefly. Now it will only grow about 2 inches a year. And that's for that tree, that's a big specimen right there, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And the spring color when it's putting on that new growth is
it's unbelievable.
It'll knock you down.
It is. We have a columnar blue spruce. It grows tall and skinny. I love it. We have a lodgepole pine.
Look at the shape on that.
Help me out. You know what it's called. Anyway,
if you wouldn't ask me,
I think limber
we'll put
pine.
it up. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out and put it on the video. Limber pine, I think, but
got the beautiful purple loropetalums through here.
And abelia.
Abelia kaleidoscope.
And what I love about these shrubs, Alex, is they keep this color in the winter time as well. They don't drop their leaves.
And the purple and the gold, like people a lot of times will say, what can I put together? What shrubs can I put together? Different textures and different colors, especially purple and gold.
And Alex, you can get this, but this abelia is beginning to bloom. In another 2 weeks, these white blooms will be all over them. And that's really pretty this time of year.
You got a Louis pine back there.
That's a eastern white pine called a Louis. It turns bright gold in the winter.
And I don't want to miss
this
tree right here. That's Blue Boulevard.
Blue Boulevard.
Composting.
False
year-round
cypress.
blue color.
Yeah.
Go figure. And Bruce, is it tough?
It's amazing. It'll grow anywhere.
It'll grow about anywhere.
If you want a pretty blue,
you can not prune it. You can prune it.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to with that tree.
You can topiary it.
To be a pretty girl, she's not too high maintenance.
What kind of pine is this?
That's an Bosnian pine.
Yeah, that's right. They're beautiful.
Boy, it's beautiful.
Got a nice columnar shape to it. Fits nicely in this little area here.
I think that's the one they call, it's either green era or emerald era. I'm not sure which one, but
we'll definitely put that on the screen too.
It's pretty. Now this Baker's blue spruce here we are in the heat of July in this part of the country, and it still has, look at the blue color on that thing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Because a lot of blue spruces in our area, when it gets real hot, they tend to lose that blue color. But that tree there,
strategically, you've got the gold thread again. You got the blue and you got the gold.
now that's the same gold thread as what's on the corner we saw a while ago that's in the shade, but you can see how much more golden that is because it gets more sun out here.
This panicle style hydrangea, is that limelight?
No,
or
that's
is it
strawberry vanilla.
Okay, I thought so, because look at this, Alex. Beautiful. It's already turning pink. And by the end of summer, that'll be completely pink, right?
It will. And boy, you talk about a pretty fall arrangement. My wife will cut those here in another month or two and start making arrangements, and it'll stay that pretty color all the way
So
up.
if you want some cut flowers,
yeah,
that's a good one to grow.
And it's easy to dry. How about this cream puff cedar?
Didn't you prune that back last year?
I did. It's off the chart.
It showed you, didn't it?
And look, but here's what I love to stress this with conifers. Look at the color the contrast between this cream puff cedar and this blue globe blue spruce. This is not a tree form blue spruce, it's like a shrub. It grows small and round.
Probably will only ever get 4 feet by 4 feet, something like that.
But look at that pretty combination.
Then, I don't know if the camera portrays this, but that's almost white.
It is.
It's almost white, not green.
And then add to that the red head coleus. This is red head coleus. And full sun. Most people think of coleus as shade, but out here in the full sun,
a lot of them can take full sun.
This one can. You take the gold color of the Forever Goldie, the blue salvia, the red coleus, the cream puff cedar, the blue spruce. It's just, I know. It's like, let the angels sing.
and the road, the main street is down here. So when you're driving by and you're seeing Bruce's house,
as a matter of fact,
you about have a wreck.
Alex, why don't you stand back toward the road and get a good view of all that and look at the color combination, the flowers, the foliage, the texture, the different colors. It's amazing. And I really do not have that many flowers in my front conifer garden, but look at all the color you get just from the conifers alone.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. And then when you have your conifers like this, if you arrange them correctly, get different colors, different shapes, different texture, all you got to do is add a little bit of color of flower here and there, and it's a Rembrandt.
Exactly.
It's a country boy Rembrandt.
Well, while we still got some light, I don't want to leave out this cedar back here.
Yeah, that's an electric blue.
Electra blue cedar. It's kind of weeping form.
Weeping, a little bit of weep to it.
Looks good tucked in back there. And Frankenstein has gone crazy. We nicknamed it, we coined it Frankenstein. It's not really called that.
You won't find that at a nursery, will you?
No, this is a Norway spruce.
Weeping spruce.
A weeping Norway spruce. And on the top of it has been grafted a globe blue spruce.
This is what you call a double graft. It's you have a root stock, and on top of that root stock you graft this weeping Norway spruce, and then on top of that you graft this globe blue spruce. So it's a double graft. And I said last year we got this from a nursery in Oregon, and they only grew a few of them, and they called some of their nurseries and said, "Do you want one?" And we said, "Yeah." And I know those boys was smoking something that day. but I'm glad they were, because boy, they come out.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's off the chart.
Look at this thing. Bruce, that's, out of all the trees you got through here, this has got to be top 3. And to me.
I love
not to
No,
you.
I'm with you. That's a weeping Alaskan cedar. Its scientific name, we're not trying to sound too smart, but don't you watch some of those garden shows and some of the women on there, and they, this is high. This is a Pendula glauca. Dutna Manala, you know.
Well, we're not trying to be like that, but the scientific name does give you a lot of information about what the plant is.
And if you go to a nursery, Chamaecyparis nutensis is the
Pendula.
Yeah, that's right. Chamaecyparis nutensis pendula.
So the pendula is the weeping part.
Tells you it's weeping. Chamaecyparis tells you it's from the false cypress family, and the nutensis, I believe, is the shape. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's that narrow, long, tall.
So the more Latin you understand,
yeah,
you know, the more you're going to like. This is thuja, but this is also an arborvitae.
Arborvitae.
And back here, we got Picea abies. Picea is spruce, Abies is Norway.
Norway,
Am I right on
right.
that? So what we have is a Norway spruce right here.
Norway spruce, Picea abies.
And you've got it looking good. This is another rescue spruce. When Bruce bought it, it was like rectangular. It was like an...
We used to laugh, and we used to call it Picea refrigeratus.
Or Picea spongebobus.
Spongebobus.
Because it had no shape to it.
Had no shape to it. It was ugly. Nobody wanted to buy it. And one day I told Justin, I said, Justin, I'm just going to take it home. Nobody's going to buy this thing. And I have been slowly pruning it now for 4 years. And it's amazing.
It's got a beautiful shape.
I'm just amazed at how it's turned out. I never dreamed it was going to turn out like that.
We're losing daylight, but we're heading over to Bruce's shade area.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get what we can of it.
Yeah, we may not have enough light for this to show up well. We did a little bit out here in the video last year, but this is my shade garden, and it's a very hard place to grow anything.
The pines are sucking the life out of these plants.
The old trees, the roots, the ground is tough. You don't have much sunlight, but I am learning what will grow back here. But I've got this beautiful Japanese maple. I believe that's I think it's a red emperor.
Okay.
I've got this cedar. I got this from you back in the early spring, do you remember?
Yes, it's beautiful.
I've got this Japanese maple here.
This is a palm leaf.
This is a palm leaf, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember.
And typically palm leaf maples grow more upright.
Yeah. And this crispy eye Chamaecyparis, boy, it's done well back here. And
I'm sorry.
No.
This is beautiful.
Isn't it?
So a lot of times you're saying if you can't get it in the ground and growing good, put it in a container.
Yeah, and
look at this dimpled royal blue container with that sedge grass.
And that's what I was about to say. You don't always have to put flowers in containers. This is just regular sedge grass, but that silver foliage of the grass
on
with
the
that
blue?
Cobalt blue container.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, yeah. What you talking about? We've got more red coleus. I forgot what kind that is. It's different than the redhead.
Is that burgundy train or?
It's burgundy train. That's what it's called.
Okay, burgundy train coleus.
Sapphire flower. Got it growing back here. Justin, you featured this on one of your videos for the shade, but
yes.
Elysium.
Is this Florida sunshine or is it banana peel?
Banana peel.
Banana peel is a great shade shrub, evergreen,
and
bright yellow foliage all the time.
Put your nose close to the screen, and I'm gonna rub this foliage. You smell it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
It
smells wonderful.
It's got a wonderful fragrance, kind of like licorice.
Yeah, that's exactly what it smells like.
These are hellebores, also called Lenten roses. They're an evergreen down here on the ground, and in the winter, they bloom in the winter, so I get some winter bloom out of these. And I dug these ferns. I was up at no, I'm not gonna say where I was. Back that up. I was in the South Mountains. I'll leave it at that. And these ferns were growing everywhere, and I dug some up and brought them home, and man, I love them.
Beautiful. I can't blame you.
I dug them off a friend's property.
Yeah. You
dug them off a
friends
friend's property. And of course, the salmon-colored impatiens just brighten the dark shade up back here.
And look at that fern growing out of there.
That's an Indian fern, I think.
That's beautiful.
Or painted fern.
Can I show them this over here, Bruce?
Oh, absolutely.
Look at these. This is heuchera. Or another name's coral bells. Ain't they showing out right
Oh, they're beautiful.
This is evergreen foliage, and if you need a perennial that does really good in shade and holds up all winter long and blooms, heuchera or coral bells is a good one, and they come in a million different colors.
Yes, they do.
And then I love how you got this these in containers back here.
Yeah.
This is a weeping hemlock, and then you got looks like impatiens in front of it.
Right, and sapphire flower.
Is that also called Browilia?
Browalia.
Browalia, okay.
Browalia,
impatiens, and an evergreen, of course. Always mixing it up, always putting your annuals and your conifers and your perennials all in one area. Love it.
And another tip, we talked about some tips a while ago, but I try to layer my stuff. Something low here, something a little bit taller here. Now, I got the elevation of these by putting them in pots, and then this
pulls it all together.
And that pulls it all together, and you get that layered effect. That layer effect is what really makes things look good too.
Last year we went on Bruce's porch. You had this in a container, I believe.
Right.
And now you've planted it in the ground. This is a standard blue star juniper.
Blue star juniper.
And then you got Asiatic snow and summer jasmine growing underneath.
That's a ground cover.
And an evergreen ground cover too.
Right.
And it doesn't bloom, but the new growth on the snow and summer jasmine is variegated pink, white, and green.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Feels in so nice around this blue star tree.
And in the wintertime when it gets cold, that Asiatic jasmine will kind of turn more purplish. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a pretty color all year round.
Love it.
I love it too.
And you got some mugo pines around here.
Mugo pines.
Wow.
And those things, they keep me on the edge of my seat.
It's a bumpy ride with mugo.
Well, in our area, mugo pines don't grow very well in our humidity. They grow well in zone 7, but not zone 7 with a lot of humidity. But so far I've managed to keep them alive, but I'm always having to clip off. Every other week I'll come out here and there's a little brown on them, but I just clip it off.
And I don't think you've told the audience about this, but one thing you told me a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me, especially here in the South when you're growing pines and spruces, you got to keep our native soil from splashing up on the foliage, because that causes disease.
It does.
What do you do to keep that from happening?
I mulch. I make sure that I keep a good layer of mulch under all my plants.
And you're mostly using pine needles?
Right. But you don't have to. There's other types of mulches you can use. But another, what I do too, Alex, especially in our area, some of these conifers, like these low-growing conifers, have a tendency to want to have a limb grow down and touch the ground. I don't allow that to happen. I keep the limbs off the ground because, as Justin said, we have problems with soil-borne funguses in our area, and you don't want conifer branches touching the soil where those funguses can easily get on them.
Well, Bruce, I think we're running out of daylight.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of dark.
I've enjoyed it though.
I know our audience have enjoyed it. Thank you.
I love y'all coming.
Thank you for letting us come over here.
Thank you for coming.
Folks, just a few weeks ago, the Arts Council came through and people paid tickets to see this house. And y'all are getting to see it for free. So
yeah. This
has been a treat.
It's funny, we laugh about it. My gardens were on the garden tour this summer for our area. And all everybody wanted to talk about was what?
The vegetable garden?
The vegetable garden.
It is a unique vegetable garden.
I've got all these expensive conifers, rare conifers, nice conifers, and other plants and things.
But let me see your cucumbers.
But everybody wanted to talk about what's growing in the vegetable garden. But that's pretty neat.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, thank you again. We've enjoyed it. I know the audience has enjoyed it. Comment down below what you want to see us talk about next, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. Leave those down below. We'll try to get to them. And you know what we say at the end of our videos?
Become a plant person.
Become a plant person.
Amen.